And in this video, we're talking about being pregnant and having babies in the United States, in Germany, and in Mexico. And we're talking specifically a little more about the care for the mom, pregnancy, and also pediatric care, and then the cost and the legal side, residency. So we're going to start talking about the care for the mom when we lived in the States.
Feel insecure going into the doctor's offices normally, and then you feel so empowered when your midwife comes over. So if you've never had a home birth and you haven't experienced the difference, that it's just a huge difference. Even if you have a really nice doctor, it just feels different. It's intimidating, and it's like, oh no, I'm going, it's just you're going to the doctor. But when you have a midwife and she comes over and she cares for you, she empowers you because she's like, you're doing great. And your body, like, she'll tell her maybe how you're feeling, and she'll empower you with like, that's good. This is why you're feeling that way. And she'll, as your pregnancy progresses, she'll feel of your belly and tell you where your baby is positioned, and all of these really sweet, comforting things. So I would say that would be across the board, across in the United States, Germany, and in Mexico. When you have a midwife, it's just so caring, so different.
Yeah, that would be my experience as well. I went to some of the appointments with Haley, and of course, in Germany, as to translate if necessary. Which the nice thing there is they all speak English basically. But and even in Germany, in the United States, I went a couple times when we went.
Yeah.
But it's a business situation. I mean, you see a doctor, but still they're running a business, and I'm not saying that they don't care, but you go into a doctor's office where they work versus a midwife that comes to your house and you offer them a cup of coffee or something to drink, and just it is like you have a friend come over to your house taking care of you, like actually care. Versus going to an appointment where you're one of many people in the day that you're
just a
going
checklist
to be
item is what you feel like. And we have had experiences with the doctor's offices in each country as well, in the United States, in Germany, and in Mexico. For various reasons, we've had to use doctor's offices, whether it was for acquiring a legal paper or something like that, or for an ultrasound that was necessary or something like that. So in each country, we have had both experiences. And if possible, it's just so much better to go with a midwife, like having that care. Our last midwife in Mexico, she was able to do everything. So that was a huge plus with her. She was able to do everything for the baby and for me, and so that was really nice.
Legal stuff, that was phenomenal.
She did everything.
It made it so much easier.
She was amazing. She was actually certified to be OBGYN, everything, but she practiced only within the home, caring for the woman. So that was really cool. She was amazing.
And let's talk about being pregnant, even though like just living there, not even the doctor's visits, just the culture when you see people in the streets or wherever, like what does it feel like to be pregnant in the States? Being in Germany, walking through the Fußgängerzone, which is the inner city where cars aren't allowed to drive. You just walk through there. What's it like?
I think two things stand out to me. In America, you get a lot of comments that are probably meant to be kind of nice, but it also makes you very self-conscious and aware. Ridiculous comments. If you've been pregnant or if you are pregnant, you know what I'm talking about. Just like, wow, you're so big, or you sure that's not twins? Oh, I always get that because I'm a petite person, so my belly gets really big, and they're like, "Are you sure there's not twins in there?" I'm like,
shut up.
Are you serious? Like, I'm already hormonal. So that in the United States, it's like blah, blah, blah. No filter. Even the men, especially the men, have no filter. Like maybe we should do a YouTube video about what not to say to a pregnant woman from a man. Anyway, and then in Germany, these are the two things that stood out to me. In Germany, if you have another child and you're pregnant again, or if you have two children, like that was my experience. I already had two little ones, a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old, and I was really pregnant with my third. And I got a lot of strange looks and no smiles. It was all, and I was like, why do these people look so angry at me, or and they just have this mindset that you should have like one child or 1.5 children. I think the
Yeah.
average is that you should
The
have one
average is
and a
like
half.
1.2 children per household
So
in
like
Germany.
that looked very strange to them. And they maybe they couldn't figure out my situation. So those were the two things that stood out to me. Being pregnant in the United States were the comments, and being pregnant in Germany was like, why would you do this? Like it was so so we want to go back to Germany and like walk through the streets with all 6 of our kids now and be like, this
Screw
is
you guys. This is
awesome.
awesome.
We love having a big
I
family.
I remember very specifically in Germany. We lived in Nuremberg, a bigger city, and our kids play outside, and kids get dirty. They play outside. They get dirty. It's how it is, and I don't care.
Our kids are
But
little
I
wild
must
kids.
say, I got a little self-conscious there on, like, I
Uh-huh.
wanted our kids to look nice when we walk around in town, if you go into the city center or whatnot, because it's like people look at you, it's like, what's wrong with you? Like you're like lower social class if the kids are dirty or whatever.
If
And
they
like,
look like they live on a farm, it's very strange.
yeah, so now I would go back. It's like, I got 6 kids and I'm proud of it, and I don't
And
care if
we
they
have
run around
fun, and there's
barefoot
so
and
much
dirty and
joy.
whatnot.
Like when you see our family out, like the kids are so happy and joyful. We homeschool them, and they're just free, and they live their life, and they're just enjoying everything, and they're happy. They don't use screens. Like it's just a bundle of joy, and we stand out. So I can't imagine how it'll be going back to Germany.
I
Hopefully we
know.
can go back. But
Our third one just killed his piggy bank and bought himself an iguana. It's not a little one; it's like 3 foot long, and he just puts it on his shoulder on his shirt and it hangs down to his knees. I mean, this thing is
he's
huge,
7 years old, and
and he just
he loves it.
reptiles.
He
Yeah.
catches. He's really talented with catching them. Anyway,
So, but they just walk around and don't care. And it would be different if we still would live there. I'm absolutely sure.
yeah.
Anyway,
It's
but
more
that is
uptight.
something.
Everything is uptight there. Like you can't just do what you want and not get some sort of negative comment or look or something.
Yeah.
And then Mexico came around, and it's like glory
Bravo.
days. Everybody, the little ladies see us and they're like, bravo, bravo. Oh, and they're just like pinching the baby's cheeks, and everybody has to touch them. Like when we first came over, we lived at the beach. It was wonderful. We lived at the beach in Mexico, and our kids, their hair was just super white blonde from being out in the sun all day. And all the Mexican ladies just want to touch the baby's hair and like, oh, you're so cute. And they just love it. They're so happy because that culture, they still remember that culture of having big families. And so it's like a treasure here for people, even people that are our age that don't, because it's become less common. Usually the people that are our age, they're like, oh yeah, I had 6 siblings, or my mom had 8 children.
Mhm.
But they themselves, now it's going away, and they themselves only have 1 or 2 children. But when they see us, it makes them so happy. So we've gotten just like
Yeah,
welcomed arms here
you
in
get,
Mexico.
I feel like in the less polished countries, like we lived in Albania for almost a year,
Oh yeah.
which is, it's kind of like the Mediterranean version of Mexico. It feels very similar in a lot of ways.
Albania, where we lived, you could look across and see Greece.
Yes, the
Just
Greek
for because I
islands and
didn't
the
know
Mediterranean
I
Sea.
didn't know anything about Albania before we lived there.
But like the kids looked at us, the people looked at us and our kids and just loved
them.
it. And it's so family run strong. I feel in the countries where there's less services, like, in Germany or in the United States, your car breaks down, you don't ask anybody for help. You call AAA or whatever
Oh
the
yeah.
equivalent is here. Like you have somebody that or they know somebody, and like it's relationships.
Or someone just walking
And
by, and they're going to help you, and
yeah,
they're going to do everything they can. These other countries have been so cool with that, with relationships. When we moved to Albania, we first went to this restaurant that was owned by this super sweet couple, and we became really
yes.
close to them. And their restaurant was amazing. It overlooked the coast, the sea. But anyway, whenever we would go there, they would hold the baby, because we had our
Fourth,
our
Macy.
fourth one
She
was
was,
little when we moved there, and they would hold her and stand by the table and just hold her and love on her
and we
while
could
we
eat.
ate. It was
Yeah.
just the sweetest thing, because they didn't have high
Yes.
chairs like but they would hold her, and we would enjoy the
Yeah.
food there was
And
phenomenal.
just
But
the love for children. One time, it's a funny story. I make it very short, but we were at this restaurant, and the boys wanted more bread, and so we told them, "Well, just go up to the the bar counter thing and ask for more bread." The guy spoke English there, and the halfway up there, they forgot what they wanted, and they were just goofing off and being silly. And this
silly
old man
boys.
sat over there, looking at the boys, just grinning, and the boys were being all silly. And then this man just couldn't handle himself, and he got up and like grabbed right, and was like, "Mwah!" And I just
You
like
sweet
the
baby.
biggest smooch on his head, which would be creepy in a lot of places. But like
Yeah,
this
in
man was
America, you would
just
freak out if someone like
this
was
man was
excited about
just
your child.
loving our kids, and just they brought so much joy to people. And we experienced the same thing in Mexico.
The
And
culture
so,
is alive with that and with
yes,
caring for. It's so important. The children are so important to care for and to love them and to give
absolutely.
them candy or whatever they have. If they have a coin, or if they have whatever they have, they're going to gift it to our children. When we go to our little local store that we live near, they're going to give the children something, because that's just the culture, is to care for kids. So
Hmm.
I think you can
Yeah.
tell that these other countries that we've lived in, besides Germany and the United States, have been significantly different in the way that we're treated during pregnancy and also with our other children.
Yeah. We, for a short time, we also lived in Italy,
Oh
but same
yeah,
thing there. People
Italy is the same way.
love the kids. So, and so, yeah.
Yes, they're all
So, yes.
so.
So that's kind of the cultural side of being pregnant, showing up with a big family in those countries.
And the
Let's,
postpartum care, I think we were going to talk about that
yeah.
next. The postpartum care in the United States, and this will be very brief because it's just how it is. It's not very recognized. The mom goes back to work at 6 weeks, and after a week or two, she's expected to be back doing her normal things. In Germany, we were really informed with how to care for the mom.
6 weeks in bed after
It's
delivery.
like,
In bed. You stay in bed.
or you stay close to bed. It's like 2 weeks in
Yeah.
bed, 2 weeks close to bed, and then 2 weeks with maybe like a little light walk around outside or something.
But close to
But
home.
close to home. You stay home. And it's also very comforting for the mom not to feel like she has to put herself together so fast. Like I had so much pressure when I lived in the States and I was postpartum to look. I mean, and it takes your body so much time to heal after having a baby. And I had this expectation of bouncing back like you hear in the States. And that's not even what you want to do. You want to be able to heal and take time for your baby. So that pressure from the United States to bounce back is not good for you, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy mentally, because then you're like, why does my body still not look like it used to? And it's just a whole topic. And I cover it in the Healthy Home Birth course. We go through all of this. And then in Mexico, it's the same thing. They have these really traditional, deeply rooted practices that they do for the woman. I forgot the technical term for it. I talk about this also in the course, but it's a 40-day deal for a postpartum mom, 40 days. And there's like this whole thing that they do. And it's just really neat. And I learned so much from my midwife because she's really, really deep into that culture of how to care for the woman postpartum. So in Mexico and in Germany, they really care for the postpartum mom. Yeah.
Yes. And I think one thing we didn't hit on birth much, which honestly, when you're equipped for a home birth, you know what you're doing. That's a nice thing. That's it's like a skill you take anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
a soft skill you have. It's not, and no matter where in the world you are, like if you can play the guitar, it doesn't matter in which country you are, you can play the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And if obviously it's it's a little more complicated, or not, but there's more to it with the birth. But
Yeah.
it's you have a home birth. You're in a house. You buy some things that you
Yeah.
need, or
When you're equipped for the
But
birth and you have a midwife, there's not much we can talk about with the
yeah,
difference in the countries, because the midwives, I would say across the board, the heart is the same. They're passionate for the mom to have a wonderful experience. And you will be able to gauge, I also go over this in the course, but you'll be able to gauge if your midwife has the heart and the presence that you need. And don't be afraid to find a different midwife if you feel like she's not offering that and bringing that to the table. And I would say that would be the only thing. And even like we have had 2 free births, but I still recommend to have a midwife and to have the midwife close by, even if you want her to be in your house, just maybe in a different room or stay in the kitchen while you're in the bedroom. If you're wanting to have that free birth experience, just to have her care there so that she's there for you if you need her, or just for the comfort of her presence being there, because most of the midwives bring in that, like, they know how to care. They can sense, they can even listen. Like if you have a good midwife, she's going to be able to listen to you, to what you're saying, to how you sound, and she just has instincts that can help guide you. So even if you don't want her, if you want to have a free birth like we have had, and I recommend it, it's awesome, she can just be there to also guide your husband, or he can come out and tell her what's going on, and she can maybe give him advice or whatever. So anyway, that's a side note. But have a midwife in every country. USA, Germany, and Mexico has been, I guess, the same.
Yeah.
With the birth aspect, because we did choose a wonderful midwife in each country. One of the most significant things in the United States, you cannot get a pediatrician to come to your home. And in Germany, in all the other places that we've been able to have the pediatrician come to our home for the necessary things that we needed in each country.
Right after birth, at least.
Yeah. And our last births, our last birth, our midwife was actually certified to do the pediatric care. And we didn't need anything, nothing. She was like, the baby's fine. I don't need to do anything to your baby. She's wonderful. And so that was amazing. I loved that. But in the other countries, we did have certain legal things that we needed to do with paperwork and things like that, the heel prick and all these things. So that was wonderful, because you have to take your newborn baby to, if you choose, I guess. I don't know how, I guess each state is probably different in the United States, but you have to take them in. And in these other countries, the pediatrician will not, that's not good. They know that that's not good to bring a newborn baby into a doctor's office where there's a bunch of sick children. So that was amazing. In Germany, I was so thankful that I didn't have to take him. I mean, we lived almost across the street from the pediatrician then, and I was still glad that I didn't even have to walk over there, and he just came over to the house. And so that was nice.
Especially with our fourth one, she was born during the first lockdown, and so everybody was a bit like, what's going on, this whole COVID thing. And so the doctor came over. We didn't have to go to the doctor's office, which was really nice. But usually that would be the case. And the doctor was a bit hesitant. I remember he's like, "You sure? Can you not just come over to the office?" And so,
but with the third baby, he came over right away with no question. Maybe because we lived closer by. I don't know. But then in Mexico, it was completely different. After our fifth birth, which was a free birth, really quick labor, hour and a half labor, amazing story. We will share our birth stories on here sometime soon. But after he was born, I think it was even the next day. Yeah, he was born in the night. So the next day, our midwife came over, and she brought the pediatrician with her, because in Mexico, you have to have a paper from a pediatrician to be able to move forward with their passport and things like that.
Well, basically the paper. And we're gonna do a separate video on just Mexico, living in Mexico as a family, having babies here and whatnot, the whole cultural thing. But just to throw that in really quick, basically the midwife gives you a paper that the baby was born alive. It doesn't even say the name of the baby, but you have to have this paper in order to get a birth certificate, which obviously that's the foundation for all the other paperwork, passports, residency, whatnot. Yeah. But that's very important. So, and the midwife or the pediatrician or the midwife, if she's qualified, can do that.
Yeah. So that's the pediatric care. And then the cost.
The cost is going to be an interesting one, and I'm going to start on that because, first of all, it depends on your health care. Do you have health insurance? You don't. The countries are different. The cost of the health insurance is different. Cost of living is different. So it's a bit of a difficult one to actually give you numbers. Mm-hmm. I think for the first time, the midwife, I think we paid like $3,000. And then in Germany, it was a lot less because the health insurance did cover.
Covered part of the midwife,
Yeah, part of the midwife. and that was, and what was still
And then
maybe
in
300-400
Mexico,
euros or something, which is similar to the dollar amount.
well, in Mexico,
But
they offered us a special because we did have free birth. We were going with the midwife, and it's a long story, but we ended up having him by ourselves, and they actually offered us just a package for pregnancy, like prenatal care and postpartum care, and it was significantly less. So that was awesome.
yeah, and I remember like both midwives, and that's something some midwives may not be okay with that because maybe they make less money. I don't know, but
Yeah,
both midwives in Mexico were like, if you want to have the baby by yourself, you're absolutely fine. We support you
yeah.
100%, which was absolutely incredible to me. Like that blew my mind. Like,
And she gave us our last midwife gave us a 50% discount. Like her, she
yes,
has like a total cost, and then she was like, if I'm not there for the birth, and she was actually stuck in traffic. Like I actually did tell her I was in labor, and she didn't make it. Um, but she gave us a 50% discount for that. And yeah, if we
and it
had to
wasn't
sum
it
it
wasn't
up,
even because she was nice, because she does work for an organization, and it's like, if the birth is not included, if I'm not there for the birth, I'm not going to charge you for it. Like,
yeah.
it
And
was
she's
really cool.
amazing. Like she spent so much time with me, like talking me through. I learned so much from her about minerals and postpartum and all of these things. Um, I'm so glad that I had that experience with her. I've gained a wealth of knowledge from having babies. This whole time from having babies, like my whole experience as a mother, I have been diving into the world of natural care. I had a goal of wanting to take care of my family completely natural, if possible. Of course, there are emergency situations like our daughter got bit by a dog once and we had to take her to the hospital.
Oh, geez,
And that
that's
was
one
bad.
thing. The Mexican hospital, they
Yeah.
are nice hospitals, but then you're going to pay for it. Um, just throw that in really
If you
quick.
just go to a regular hospital, you don't want to do
But
that.
yeah,
So if you do
yeah,
want to have a home birth in Mexico, you should, or if you want to have your baby in Mexico, you should choose a home birth, is what I'm meaning to say.
yeah. And and again, we're going to have a deep dive on Mexico
Yes,
as a
we have.
life, living here. And we had some challenges with our fifth one. We needed a lot of ultrasounds, very in depth, very high end stuff that we paid out of pocket. And I just want to throw this in: when you need to talk to a doctor in Mexico,
Oh,
WhatsApp
yeah.
rules, and you talk to the doctor directly. You do not talk to the front
Yes.
desk. You message the doctor, and the doctor, like, there's
That is
no,
something that is
it is so
so
nice.
nice. Even if you need to go to the dentist, you are texting the dentist on WhatsApp. Like you actually talk to the dentist and you can talk through all your problems on WhatsApp or whatever. And then sometimes they'll connect you with the person who sets their appointments, but you can message any medical professional directly. You don't go through
Oh, so much
anything. It's so
easier.
nice. It's so easy. So that
Yes,
that is
so
a really good thing
that's
about Mexico.
a little nugget we're going to throw out there again in the next video, where we talk about living in Mexico with children, having
Hmm.
babies here. We're going to take a deep dive. And
And so we used which I should, maybe I shouldn't get into it, but we used a midwifery clinic, like a whole midwifery profession system. I don't know what you call it.
they are
Um,
connected to a hospital if there's emergencies in that
yes,
place.
and so that's why we went there, because of our situation that we were having with our fifth child. We used this midwifery, and they were amazing. And every single midwife there was wonderful. I had all of their phone numbers. It's in a really safe area of Mexico. Like it was a wonderful experience. At the coast.
And then
So
again, you talk to them directly if you have an
yeah,
issue and stuff. So it was a good experience, almost as good as the last one.
yeah. And then we lived we moved to a different area of Mexico in more like the mountainy area, and had a wonderful experience with our midwife there. She's a wealth of knowledge. She's amazing.
So yeah,
So
we'll talk about that in the next video.
so yeah, the cost, and to, I guess, to sum it up, it's expensive to live in the United States. It's expensive to live in Germany, and it's a lot less expensive to live in Mexico. So you do have like some offset costs there if you're
Yeah,
looking at, if you're kind of balancing it all out.
and I would say the cost, Germany is still cheaper than the United States. Food is pretty cheap in Europe, in Germany,
But then you have housing and things
but
like
rent
that.
is high.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So It's all
So
going
it's,
up.
yeah, and Mexico, and honestly, I mean, if you live in certain parts, you can spend a lot of money here. It's not cheap
Yeah,
everywhere.
there are really
The
nice.
coastal areas are more expensive. We had the baby near Cancun, and our fifth one, and it's a touristy place, and that's where the money is, and so the rent is high and stuff. So that's, but again, we
Higher,
lived,
not near as high as most people would expect. They'd be like,
yeah,
what? I would get a studio for that. Like, we told someone who lives in California what our rent was for like this big, nice house in this gated community with a pool and all of these things. And they're like, I would get like a one room like studio where I live for that much. Or just, she was like, I actually couldn't even find a studio for that amount. So it depends on where you live and what you're used to, as if it's expensive or not. But overall,
yes.
it was a lot less to have a baby in Mexico than it was in Germany or the United States, just because of the cost of living, I guess, if you combine everything.
Yeah. Let's talk about residency really quick. So in Germany, if you have a baby there and both parents are not European Union citizens, so not from Germany, not from anywhere there,
Yeah.
you won't get residency because you have a baby there. The baby's being born, it has the residency, the citizenship of the parents. And in the United States, which that may be less relevant for a lot of you guys, your baby is going to be American. When I lived in the States, I worked for a German company. My boss and his wife were German. They had a baby there, and he got an American passport. Just in that case, the German government's actually the one that makes it difficult. The baby did get an American passport, but when the boy in that case is turns 18, the German government will be like, "Hey, do you want to be German or you want to be American? You got to pick." So,
And that doesn't qualify the family to have anything, right? It's just that baby.
yes, I mean, I
That
think with that you can just like here too, when you have a citizen of a certain country in your immediate family, you can get residency. You qualify for residency, but this is not legal advice, guys. Don't nail us down on that.
He's the guru for
However,
all of this, though, because we had the babies in United States, and he did all the paperwork for that for them to get United States and German passports. And then we had the two babies in Germany, and he did all the paperwork for Germany and the United States again. So, and then we moved on and had two babies in Mexico, and he has done all the paperwork. So he doesn't give himself enough credit because he really knows a lot, but he's like, I'm not sure, but he's really, really good with it.
yeah.
Um,
So and then we
so
had the babies
yeah,
here, and by the way, we didn't plan on having baby in Mexico. We did not come here for a Mexican passport or to find residency here. That was a longer story. Again, we shared that in the other video.
briefly, we thought
But
we would live in Italy.
yeah,
We were trying to find somewhere where we could homeschool because in Germany it's illegal to homeschool. Another story for another day. But then we came to Mexico because the country was open. That was in the middle of all of the lockdowns and all of that stuff. And he was able, as a European citizen, able to come here, and I was able to come to Mexico. And so that's where we traveled here with our
yeah.
suitcases,
And we
pregnant
were
with our
pregnant.
fifth baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, you have the baby here. The baby gets the residency of this country, which most Latin American countries offer that. If you want to choose a different country, you got to look into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so having our two babies here, they got Mexican passports, so they have three. Well, they don't have the German passport yet, not done that yet, but they will have three passports. They have three citizenships. And it, for the first time since we were married, it qualified us to
Yay.
have permanent residency in the same country
So exciting.
because we have an immediate family member, our children, or yeah, and they gave us permanent residency in
Yeah.
Mexico.
Yes, so cool. I was just watching yesterday the video from when we got our residency in the same country. And it was just so exciting because it was so easy. We went into the office and they asked us for our baby's passport, and then we got our residency cards. Like, we're permanent residents in the same country because we had never had that before. He was German and I'm American, and we had never. So that was really cool, and it was really, of course, all the paperwork that he did. I'm like, it was so easy. He's like, it wasn't that easy. But he did all the paperwork to get the baby's passport. And once we had that, it was a one visit into an office. The people were so nice and helpful to us. And then we left with residency cards for forever. It's permanent residency. It's not like we have to go back and do something else.
And the
It's
funny
done
thing is,
so easy.
there are people waiting in line for hours. And Mexico is becoming a popular country to get residency in. We'll talk again in the next video about that, why people want to come here. But we just went in there. We got to skip the line and got our residency cards. And it took a minute, but we waited maybe
10 minutes
we skipped the line, the 4-hour
but
line.
For her to do the paperwork,
and then
it was quick.
We were right in their appointment, maybe 10 minutes in, and then we were done. So
permanent residency. That is not how it was. We have done legal appointments in the United States and Germany, and how often would I have to go and renew my?
Every year you had to
every
renew
year
your
I had to renew.
Germany.
Yeah, when we lived in Germany for 5 years, and every year I would have to go and sit in these places with all of these people and go through all that process. And it was just so really, I was like, what? Where? Because the process in Germany for me to get my residency card just for 1 year it was like a whole day process for me. I would have to leave them, go do all of this. And so when we got those residency cards here so fast, it was like, that is just amazing.
And the Germans only speak German because they don't deal with Americans much. They deal with people from, the whole stance, Afghanistan and whatnot, on all these other countries. So they just speak German.
And anyway, I would try in Germany to speak my little bit of German that I had so that they would try to be a little more friendly to me, thinking that if I tried to speak German, maybe they would speak, because I know they can speak English. All of them can, and most of them. But they wouldn't. They wanted me, because I wanted to have my residency there, they wanted me to speak German. And so
gotta be correct.
There was they wouldn't give. And then finally I learned that, and I was like, okay, so I will just speak English. They know what I'm saying. And even if they act like they don't, they do. And then we can move forward with the process. Because I was trying to learn German. I was in the classes that were required and things like that. And now I try to learn Spanish and I get it all jumbled up. So, and the kids are laughing at me. Okay, I think that's a wrap. We covered it all.
And again, we will meet you in the next video where we talk about we'll probably deviate a little bit from pregnancy and birth, but just living in Mexico with kids. Is it dangerous? Is it,
that's everybody's
safe?
question.
What are
you safe?
And stuff. So
we live in the forest in a wooden house, and it's beautiful. But people are like, isn't that so dangerous? So
we're going to talk about all of that. We'll talk about the places where we lived, what the situations were like, how is it for families, kids,
is it family friendly in Mexico? Yeah.
So we'll do that in the next video. Until then, we'll see you later.